I'm a feminist, but... Hello, Wellington, we're back! And I'm a feminist, but this morning I flew from Auckland to Wellington to be here with you. And when I put my luggage on the weighing thing, it came up and it said it was overweight and I was going to have to pay $20. And so I had to call over the staff and just, they have to say, and the woman went, no, you have to pay $20. And I said, the thing is, it's a feminist tour. And people give me books, on the feminist tour, which I love and I treasure and I take them home, but they weigh it down, so there's a lot of feminism in the bag. And I said, so if you let me off the $20, you'd be doing it for feminism. And she looked at me and she went, let me go and ask my boss. And she went off and she came back and she went, fine. And it was Air New Zealand, thank you, Air New Zealand, and I've heard that your new Prime Minister, whose name I have not bothered to learn, and will not, I just call him the one after Ardern. I heard that he is to run it, so I can only assume, I've heard he mentions it every now and again, like every time he speaks, so I can only assume he instilled Air New Zealand with those feminist values. And that's why that employee felt so moved as to waive my $20 fee. So Air New Zealand, if you're listening, thank you. Next time I would also like an upgrade.
I'm a feminist, but... Last month, instead of going to the very first Fems and Thems comedy show in Auckland, based on the beautiful Fems and Thems showcase for queer, non-binary and women comedians in Wellington, instead of going to that show, I stayed home because it was raining, opened a bottle of wine and a packet of kettle fried chips, went online and bought a vintage velvet jacket. And when someone asked me the next day why I wasn't at the gig, I said I'd got a bit sinusy and I was worried it was COVID.
Oh my God, you're a COVID. Is this the same one you're currently bidding on?
No, that's another one. I'm bidding on one today. That's what I'm doing. It's a black velvet jacket, sort of duster length that I'm about to buy. Completely different from the black velvet jacket duster length that I am currently wearing. Thank you.
I'm a feminist, but... when Deborah told me that she went to see RBG, the play about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I thought she was talking about the BFG.
It's an amazing play. It's currently on in Melbourne, and I'm sure it will come here. I hope it will. I demand that it does.
Is the Snozcumber still in it?
I literally could not believe... And the thing is, Grace did not confess that to me till tonight. She just held it. She just was like, yeah, that RBG... And I was like, yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, yeah.
Deborah,
yeah.
Your feminism is so immense that it's very intimidating to spend time with you. This is the confessional space here. I can't be confessing all the fucking time.
Can I just say, that's not true. You say things all the time that I don't know about, and I just go, Yeah, I just go...
It's all coming out.
Well, I just wait for you to explain, and then you do.
There is nothing that I know that you don't know. Except for, where to get the best age 12 flannel shirts, I think. It's my specialist subject.
Well, I just love that you thought that was recommending a Roald Dahl show for children to you. Listen, just because you're buying age 12 shirts doesn't mean I recommend age 12 shows to you. Listen, if you get a chance to see it, you should. I'm a feminist, but Backstage, I asked Michele to show me the jacket that she was bidding on. And when she showed me, I acted like a husband and said, "That's exactly the same as the one you've got on." And she said, "No, it's not. Look, it's got this detail and there's a little flare." I was like, and I acted exactly like, not just a husband, but my husband, and said, "I cannot see any difference. You're buying the exact same jacket again. You don't need it." Tom Selinsky, my husband, is going to edit this, and he is going to laugh in his little headphones. He's going to be there going, ammunition. And can I tell you, Tom, you can laugh all you like. The black dresses I buy are very different from each other. Very fucking different. It's not like this black jacket situation at all.
No, completely different. I like you, Tom. We should chat. I'm a feminist, but I recently bought shapewear. I know, and I thought it was going to be terrible, but there's a thing I needed anyway, whatever. I thought it was going to be like an instrument of patriarchal torture. I thought it was going to be like going back to wearing corsets. But it turns out shapewear, this is a bodysuit one, I'm not wearing it right now because it's in the wash. It feels like a hug. It's like an anxiety blanket. Also, it has 3 domes just across the crotch. And if you get them in the right place.
My niece is in the audience.
She's got no idea what I'm talking about. How old is she?
Old enough.
Okay, good.
She's a university student.
She knows she's got her own domes.
Well, great. Now she's going to leave. Thanks.
I am a feminist, but I do really need 23-year-old lesbians to stop calling me an elder of the community. 36, guys! 36. Don't bury me before I'm dead, okay?
Is that what they say? They say you're an elder of the community.
Many times.
But what are they saying? Because I think you look very young. I don't understand.
I know. I'm right. Am I 12? Am I an elder? Which is it?
Listen, I think they're just very young. They're just. I suppose if you're 16, everyone here looks elderly. I suppose that's the case. Is anybody in very young? Just give us a cheer if you're young.
Oh, there's me, obviously. Sorry.
If you're young, how old are you? Oh, 11. No, we're delighted. We're absolutely delighted. Absolutely. And if you're 11, how old do we look? Just estimate. What was that? Tell us after the interval. Do some Googling, see how old you think. No, don't do that. Don't do that. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for being 11 and being interested in feminism, or at least having a mother who is making you be interested in feminism. Are we ready to start the show? Then welcome to the Guilty Feminist Wellington, live at the Opera House. Big round of applause for Grace Petrie and Michele A. Court, 2 women you're going to be seeing a lot more of this evening, along with our very fabulous guests. Well, Wellington, it's very, very exciting to be here. And we've never played the Opera House before. We've done the Wellington Arena and another venue I can't remember the name of. But just give us a cheer if you've seen us here in Wellington before. Give us a cheer if this is your first time. Excellent. More first-timers than not. Give us a cheer if you listen to The Guilty Feminist at home. Give us a cheer if you don't know what you're at. Excellent. Okay. You don't know what you're at. This is a podcast. Which is essentially radio that nobody stops you making. And that's why women do it so often. It's one of the avenues that's open to us because it's homemade. You can do it at home with rubber bands and string. because no one's going to give you a television show. So this is that podcast. It's been going for some years now. This is our third time in Wellington. Yes, absolutely. But years before, we would go to Auckland, and Wellington would always go, "What about us? What about us? What about us?" And the producer I had at the time was like, "Oh, well, I'm not sure there's the demand." And then the first time we went there, it was the Wellington Arena, and that was the sort of the thing of we'd held off. And so once we gave in, I wanted to come ages ago, just to be clear, it's not me. I was always excited to be here. You're very low down, and that's because it's an opera house. And the only thing about it is, you're so far below me, I just feel you're in the front row here, getting the same angle I get when I accidentally open my camera phone the wrong way. Where I go, "Oh, God!" You people up there are getting more of the flattering selfie angle. Eventually, I'll be so successful, I will only sell out the dress circle. No one will see me from the stalls. It'll just all be lighting, cheekbone lighting. So if you don't know what you're at, this is a podcast and it's about feminism. But we're guilty feminists, so it'll come out. Just give us a cheer if you're more feminist than guilty. Give us a cheer if you're feeling more guilty than feminist tonight. Excellent. We're on for a good night. The world is pretty scary in many, many ways. We've made incredible strides and progress in feminism, of course, especially here in Aotearoa, where you were the first people in the world to give women the vote. In a Western capitalist way. I'm sure you had a very matriarchal system before that. But really, there's all sorts of things like, we all looked to you when you had Jacinda Ardern as Prime Minister. It was a golden time for you. That golden time has been cruelly snatched away, and that's why we're here, to make you feel better about that. The world can be a very scary place and a very difficult place. You're seeing all sorts of things from around the world go on at the moment, and sometimes it's easy to feel like, what can I do? What can I do about it? I am just a drop in the ocean. But I have learned something, and that is a lot of drops make a wave. And so we come together as a load of drops in the ocean, and we make a wave, and then we make a wave in Auckland, and we make a wave in Christchurch, and those waves get together, and a lot of waves make an ocean. So look, all the ocean can ever be made up is millions of drops. So come together tonight to energize. If you're feeling a little down about things going on in the world and in your own country or your own area, come together to energize and recharge your batteries. You might meet somebody in the interval with whom you can form a coven to do something new and feminist. You might meet people here tonight who are doing feminism and you'd love to get involved in their project. Maybe they need volunteers, maybe they need funding, maybe they just need encouragement, maybe they need someone to share their materials online or talk to someone about it with their face. There's all sorts of things that are going on in this room tonight. So I'm just going to give us a cheer if you've got a feminist job, and that could be a job that you get paid for. It could be a voluntary role or some project you're doing. Give us a cheer if you think you're doing a feminist job. It's very common. I know that my audience tends to be made up of three groups. One, people who have roles particularly, specifically about gender. The second group is people who are doing something like healthcare, literacy. And the third group are people doing PhDs about Virginia Woolf. Anyone doing a PhD? Give us a cheer. Anyone got a PhD already? Give us a cheer. I see those smug cheers. They're like, I've done my dissertation. I am a doctor. I never have to do anything ever again. Who's doing a PhD at the moment? Give us a cheer. Excellent. You're up there in the cheaper seats. Absolutely. What are you doing your PhD about? Translation studies. So what are you translating? Video games. Why? Like, what's that? What's the thrust of that PhD? What's the official long title? Is there an official long title? Usually PhDs are about one tiny thing, aren't they? Oh, so it's cross-cultural communication through video games. I knew it would be secretly feminist. I knew there'd be some feminist bent. Anybody think they've got a feminist job? Give us a cheer. Anyone want to tell us about anything that they're doing that's feminist? You work in an all-boys Catholic school? Then you're doing the Lord's work in more ways than one. Are you bringing feminism into the all-boys Catholic school? Yes. What subject do you teach? English and media studies. And do you Trojan horse feminism in whenever you can? What kind of things do you do? So the week before Mother's Day, you asked them, why are you a feminist? And they had to answer. Not whether they were, but how they were and why they were. That's some intense brainwashing you've got going on there. Excellent work. Anybody else? Anyone else got a feminist thing that they're doing that they need to tell us about? Yes? Binders to trans-mass young people. And what's the name of your organisation? Wellington Binder Exchange. Anybody else got anything? Yes? Trying to help women around the world to thrive? Which one? Expat women around the world to thrive. Okay. Drive. You're teaching expat women to drive? Oh, ethnic. I was thinking, women that describe themselves as expat are usually quite posh, aren't they? They're like, darling, I'm an expat. Yeah. No, we're going down for drinks with all the expats. Down to the North Shore with the expats. Yeah, darling, it was just a little meet-up with the expats. We're going to have a little driving lesson down there. Because it's all, wrong side of the road or something. I don't know. To be honest, I've never bothered because of the chauffeur, but we thought it'd be rather fun, be rather jolly. It'd be rather jolly to learn to drive ourselves. And after that, we'll be having a little cooking lesson. But, I mean, honestly, with an in-house chef, lol, as if we're ever going to do it. That's how I see most expat women. But it's ethnic women to drive around the world. Okay. That does make more sense. But interestingly, I was trying to hold a face that went, you go, girl. I was going, But yay, we all stitch our patch into the quilt. Anybody else? There was somebody who said tonight they were here doing something. Okay. Do you want to come down the front? Because you emailed me beforehand. Okay. What's your name? Bex. Bex. I don't think there are any steps up, Bex, so I'm just going to give you the mic. Okay, Bex?
Kia ora koutou, thank you very much. My name is Bex, and I am campaigning for paid training in female-dominated professions. Thank you. If you train as a police officer, prison officer, or apprentice, you will be paid to train. But if you train as a teacher, social worker, mental health professional, nurse, midwife, you will not be paid to train, and you absolutely should be. We are campaigning to grow the workforce sustainably because our students deserve to live with dignity and training. We must diversify the workforce, and you all deserve accessible services in mental health, healthcare, teaching, you name it, you deserve it. So please get behind the campaign. We have a live petition right now. It's on the Action Station website. Grow the workforce, paid training in healthcare, teaching and social work. Or I have a bunch of flyers with a QR code. Please come find me. I'm wearing a very brightly coloured top. Please come find me. I'd love to meet you. Thank you so much for your support.
What's your URL? What's your URL? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so I've got a flyer now. It says, sign the petition for paid training. And then it's hashtag paid.placements.Aotearoa. Okay? So you want to go to hashtag paid.placements.Aotearoa. Do you need the hashtag there? No. So it's just paid, P-A-I-D, .placements.Aotearoa. That's a really, really good point. That if you want to become a plumber, the assumption is, well, you'll need a wage. But if you want to become a midwife, the assumption is you'll want to pay for that and live on nothing while you don't... I mean, listen, it's very important to have people who can fix a loo, don't get me wrong. but someone who can bring life into the world. Because if you lose the loo, someone else can come in, more experienced, and fix it. But, the stress on delivering babies must be an extraordinary thing. So why are we not paying midwives to train? And why are we not resourcing that as one of the most important things in our society? Teachers, social workers, this is the infrastructure of society. This is absolutely a fantastic point. So sign the petition for paid training, get involved, volunteer, shout about it, tell people about it, start the conversation. I think it's a great conversation. It's a great conversation starter in your staff room, or if you're hanging out with friends, having a lunch or something like that. Get that conversation going, because sometimes we just don't question what's normal. We just go, well, that's the way it is, because carpenters get money when they train. And so we need to start asking those questions and questioning our assumptions. Thank you so much for doing that. Grab a flyer tonight, go to the QR code. What's your name? Bex. Big round of applause for Bex, everybody. Just give us a cheer if you think you've got an unfeminist job. Yes? Who just went, woo? What do you do? You run a swim school? That's not unfeminist. Feminists, you need to teach feminists not to drown. I think that's fine. Anyone got a less feminist job than run a swim school? Anyone got an unfeminist job? You work at a bank. Fair enough, yeah. What kind of bank? Kiwi Bank. Is it an investment bank? Is it like one of those ones where sort of evil rich people make more money and then you foreclose on poor people's houses? What was that? Hopefully not. Do you do any stealth feminism? Because I've discovered everybody in my audience who has a really unfeminist job is generally secretly doing feminism at that job. For example, someone told me that they have to help rich people invest their money so they can make more money, but sometimes they tell them to invest in things that are feminist, even though maybe they won't make a return. Because you win some, you lose some. And I said, isn't that illegal? And she went, maybe. But she said, I don't really care about the job anyway and want to leave. So if it comes out, what a way to go. Do you do anything like that? You do? Yay, what do you do? Oh, you try and change the lending process so it's not just white picket fence lenders get the money. So is it actually so fewer white picket fence, because you've only got so much money to lend, so is it fewer white picket fence and more people who wouldn't normally get to buy property do? That's the idea. See, I told you. Sometimes I go, oh, she's got such a feminist job. But I sometimes think the real feminists are inside the system, under the hood, fucking it up. Just like taking out spark plugs and throwing them over their shoulders, like in The Sound of Music, when they rip stuff out of the Nazi's car. I feel like that's what's going on. Is anyone else doing something like that? Yes, what are you doing? You work with the police and tell them what to do. But what do you tell them? Do their job properly? Do you just go in and say, look, sit down, all cops are bad cops. Stop that. You don't have any way of being picked out. What is that? Kicked out. Okay. You're a contractor. And who pays you to go in and tell the police they're doing a bad job? You cannot disclose that. Oh, this is a guerrilla operation, isn't it? She just goes in and says, all right, boys, training day. Now, I don't want to assume all police officers are men, but I know that she goes in to do the men ones mostly. She goes in and says, all right, boys, training day. And they go, oh, we don't want to do a training day. And she goes, well, I'm afraid it's on the schedule. I've got a clipboard. And they go, I guess it must be, because she's wearing like a high-vis jacket or something, probably. And it turns out she's a guerrilla operation funded by local feminists. There's no real training at all going on. But she just goes, conference room B, and they go, oh, I guess that's us. and just marshals them round. And then later they say, oh, we really enjoyed that training day. And their boss goes, what training day? Yeah, she came in. Yeah, she was really good. But she said we were really racist and not doing a good job at all. And we should think about leaving the police force and doing something better with our lives. And actually, I'm actually thinking about leaving and training to be a midwife. But I hear you don't get paid to do it. So I'm not really sure if I can afford it.
Hello, Jamila Jamil here. You may know me from my role in The Good Place or from She-Hulk or from social media and my activism. I Weigh basically started as a social movement, and my podcast is one of my truly greatest achievements. It's a podcast against shame and a place for us to have really honest and truly inclusive conversations. I love connecting with people. I love learning. I have a lot to learn, and I'm inviting you along with me. On I Weigh with Jamila Jamil, I have friends, activists, specialists, and absolute heroes join me to teach me from their experience and expertise. People like Conan O'Brien, Jane Fonda, Roxanne Gay, Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Byer, Alok, Kelly Rowland, and more. I Weigh with Jamila Jamil has new episodes out every Tuesday, and you can find the show on earwolf.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
All right, it is time to start the podcast proper. Please welcome back to the stage my co-pilot for this evening, the one, the only, the incredible Michele A.
I like Bex. Can I just say that? Bex with the petition.
Do you want to fly
Yes,
out?
I do. I want to fly
it's
it.
really good.
Yeah, that's great.
We should both... am I allowed to sign that petition? I'm not from here. Okay.
Yeah, just sign it.
They won't know.
They won't know.
Yeah, they won't know. Yeah, that's amazing. Can I just tell you a very special memory for me that happened here in Wellington?
Yes.
Just give us a cheer if you were at the Wellington Arena show. Yeah. I will say this, I'll try not to be emotional. But that show, because that was one of the last shows we did before the pandemic. Yeah. We did that, and we did a show in Sydney. I did both of those with the incredible Carl Wilson. And I filmed a little bit from the stage. I just felt it was something about that. We were on tour, but there's two shows that stand out to me, and one is Wellington and one is Sydney. And the Wellington one, I used to watch all the time because I just, from the stage, started filming a lot of it. I remember Grace was playing, and everyone was singing the lyrics to the song, and it just felt really, really special. Because I think we hadn't been to Wellington before, and I was like, how do all these people know the lyrics to the song? And I was like, oh my God, they've been listening to the show. And it shouldn't be a surprise that people listen to the podcast, but it just felt like, when you see people singing the song and you're like, oh wow, they're really engaged by this, and they've obviously then followed Grace, and because Grace hadn't been to New Zealand before, and it was just something really amazing, and it was such a huge show, and I remember we had a vibrator on the stage for some reason.
Why don't we have that?
I should have brought it back. I've got it with me. And it's back at the hotel. It seemed more appropriate. Yeah, and it was just something, it was just huge and excited, and we couldn't believe how excited Wellington was to have us.
Some shows just have a thing, but also I feel like Wellington is one of those. I used to live here, and it's one of those places that really embraces.
Yeah, it was amazing. And Grace and I couldn't walk down the street here. We went into a lesbian bar and they just said, your money's no good here. And we sort of thought we were being asked to leave, but they meant, no, the drinks are free here because we're such fans of yours. And we were just like, oh my God, it was just such a special place that we'd never felt more welcome in a place we'd never been in our lives than Wellington. The show was incredible. And I used to, in the pandemic, when we, in London, we had very severe lockdowns for a long time where you would be allowed one walk a day. It's the whole UK, it wasn't just London, but one walk a day, and I'd go to Primrose Hill, which is our local park, and often the police would shout at you to keep moving. It felt very Handmaid's Tale. It was really awful. And I'm not saying I'm the real victim of the pandemic, but it was a really tough time if you're an extrovert who's used to going around the world in a sequin cape. And suddenly I was just at home in pajamas forever, and I just found it, I found it, as we all did, very difficult for different reasons. And So I used to watch that all the time. I used to watch videos, and I used to send them to Grace and send them to Cal and talk about when we'd be back out on the road again. And then I only got to do one tour after the pandemic, and Cal, because of, she was in a car with someone who tested positive for COVID. Although she was testing negative, she had to miss a couple of shows. But I have really hardly ever done a show since Cal started working with me, I've never done a show in New Zealand without Cal. And she passed away incredibly suddenly last year. It was such a shock. And so I was very nervous about coming out without her because it felt wrong. It felt like, how am I having a lovely time, and how are we all coming together to do feminism and comedy without her? So my husband got me this lovely locket with our pictures in it. And our husband Chris gave me a special peg to bring because some of you will know there was an in-joke about, she once said I'm a feminist, but my side quest is for the perfect peg. And so people started bringing her pegs. Anyway, Michele joined the tour because she's an old friend of Cal's, but Michele and I did not know each other. And Michele got the message that would you do the tour on the same day she was driving to give Cal's parents a special book about Cal. So it felt like we passed the baton, or Cal passed the baton. So it's strange to be in Wellington without Cal, but I'm really happy to be here with Michele because we've only done 2 shows together ever, which is the ones we just did in Christchurch and Auckland. But they were so wonderful, and I felt like Cal was with us.
Totally. She's been floating around.
I just felt it so strongly. Yeah, we love Cal so much. And the first night was in Christchurch, and that's Cal's hometown. We've never started the tour in Christchurch, ever. But because of some reason, we started it there, and then we felt her so strongly all night. And then at the end, people came out of the audience and said, this theatre is attached to her school. This is where she learned to do drama. It was so extraordinary. And this afternoon, I went and had a nap, and I had this really strong dream about Cal. And so I feel like, this was so special to me and her. That show in Wellington got me and Cal and Grace through the pandemic. And because of your enthusiasm, your excitement, your embracing of feminism and your love of comedy and love of music and all of those things in your spirit. So I just want to say thank you. I don't know if you know how special you are to us and how much you've meant to me personally and how much it's important to be here and start the tour here to remember Cal and celebrate Cal as well. So thank you very much.
Yes. Do you want me to do some comedy?
Yeah. We normally start this part funnier. But can I just ask, how's the Velvet Jacket going?
I'm still in the lead. I'm in the lead. It closes in 25 minutes.
25 minutes, and you are in the lead. Presumably, it would be nice if we could all watch it like a sport.
I know, right? I'm terrified of giving people too much information in case somebody thinks it would be hilarious to go online.
I think it would be quite funny. But someone might buy it for you. You might have an admirer in the audience who wants to outbid you and buy it for you.
I think I'll just do it myself. I think that would be my preference.
Any admirers in the audience who would like to buy Michele a velvet jacket?
No, that's disappointing.
I feel like if you said,
hey-ho.
I feel you should have just said woohoo.
I know, somebody should have just taken pity on me at that point. Yeah, whatever.
Woohoo.
Too late now.
Yeah, I think it's a little late now. Listen, when you win it, can you tell us?
I absolutely will.
Also, just one thing I would like to say is I found out today, we were just talking about female professions, male professions that are traditionally, even if obviously no profession is male or female or non-binary, it's just traditionally it's been this and that. And some professions are still overrepresented with men. If you're in a male-represented profession, could you please cheer? Like overrepresented. What do you do? Shout out what you do. If you're in a male overly represented male profession, if you're in a profession that's overrepresented by men, just what do you do? Just shout out anything. Work in a what? IT. Police. Scientist. Pilot. Are you a pilot? Wow. We have a winner because there's a tiny percentage of female pilots. How is it being a? What was that? Police IT comms. I think police comms... I mean, talk to our gorilla. I think you need her in a lot. Who's the pilot? Yeah, you're a pilot? How is it being a pilot? Like, when you go into the pilot's lounge, is there a sort of sense that it's just so... Because I looked up the stats on this recently, and it was like 4% or something like that.
I think that airlines, it's on the whole 7%.
7%.
I think that's the rough.
Wow.
So for every 100 pilots, there's 7 women.
Yeah.
So do you ever see another woman?
Yes. So I'm in New Zealand, and the recent stats, I think, are about 20 to 25% of our recruitment.
Oh, you're recruiting 25 to 30%. Amazing.
I'll be honest, I believe that is the most accurate.
Oh, wow.
We're quoting you.
Well, if you work for Air New Zealand, I owe you $20. I had 26 kilos of feminist luggage that just hitched a lift. Wow.
Really good women's networks within Air New Zealand as well. So.
Next time we come, can we interview you, please?
And I want to find out if you still call the front of the plane the cockpit. Because I feel that should change. Flight deck, there you go, thank you.
You can't
Quite
just say,
right.
I'm a cisgendered female pilot, so I'm calling it the clit deck. I'll just be like, no, that's not how things work. But what's the black box like? Okay. We won't make jokes like that if you come on, we promise. That will never happen again, and we apologise fully. But listen, the reason I'm asking is because today I found out that Michele started in a very male-dominated industry. I'm going to ask you this. When you think of a clown, do you think of a man or a woman? A man, that's right. When you think of a mime, do you think of a man or a woman? That's right. But here, listen, this is a properly trained clown mime. And I've never seen her do this. This is genuinely, but I will have to commentate for the podcast listeners. Okay, Michele is currently walking along a wall, and the wall seems to be, she's moving, she's looking up over a wall now. Oh, she's waving, she's down below. She is walking, but staying in the same place. Can you walk against the wind? Oh, sorry, that was it. That was walking against the wind. Can it be windier?
I've only done this recently drunk.
You've only done this recently drunk. Okay, all right. Well. Yes. That's some fancy footwork. She's got wind in hair now. Get this woman 5 shots. Excellent.
I love coming on a podcast and doing mime.
Did you realise that Michele used to be a clown/mime?
Nobody knows that. Nobody knows. I've
Well,
told
they
no
all
one.
do now. It'll be in all the papers because people listen to this show and then sometimes pull stories for tabloids. So expect to see yourself.
Great.
Did anyone film that? Because I would like a little bit of that for our reel.
No, if you would delete that, that would be terrific.
Yeah. Or you could just post it on Instagram and then I could grab it for the reel. That'd be lovely. I should have filmed it. That would have been great.
It's too late. It's gone. It will never happen again. It's a moment in time. Everybody forget and sleep.
Excellent. All right. Well, next time we come, we're going to have some female pilots on.
Yes.
Although, will people complain because they'll say flying is not good for the environment?
There's going to be electric planes. We've talked about this. There are electric planes. And they'll do long haul as soon as somebody gets an extension cord that's long enough. It's going to be fine.
Listen, will there be... Sorry, our pilot, I'm so sorry, what's your name? Laura, will there be electric planes soon?
Yeah, so Air New Zealand's got one prototype that's supposed to be doing cargo flights very soon.
Air New Zealand's got one prototype that's supposed to be doing cargo flights very soon. Because I'm going to just go out on a limb and say, I really want there to be electric planes, but I'm not going to get on the first one. I'm going to see how they go for a year.
Yes.
And if they don't drop out of the sky, then yes, obviously that would be a better option. But I'm a little nervous of an electric plane, because what happens if you hit a storm?
Well, the same thing as it would happen if it's not electric. I would imagine you'd be in
because
trouble.
electricity and water famously... I mean, I suppose there's electric cars, but I feel you could just jump out of that, if something... You know, when I first got to Britain, they had electric showers.
What?
Yeah, electric showers, they still have them. You get in an electric shower, it's like a little bird bath, it's terrible. But you just think, getting in an electric shower, isn't that just like changing a light bulb in the bath, which is definitely going to kill you?
I'm frightened now. I appreciate what you're saying now. It didn't make sense to me, but it does now.
Okay, well listen, next time we'd love you to come and talk about being in an underrepresented community, how you're recruiting more people, but also ideally how you're not going to cause exacerbated global warming with your job. What was that, Laura? Thank you, Laura. Big round of applause for Laura, everybody.
Fantastic.
Would you like to see some stand-up comedy? Then please welcome to the stage the incredible Michele Court.
Thank you. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. This room is very special to me. I do want to just acknowledge this whare. I love it. When I was a little girl, quite some time ago, I remember coming to the Opera House and I sat right up the top in the gods. Is anybody right up the top in the gods? Oh, amazing. It's so amazing from up there, right? You feel like you could fly down. And I was about 6 years old and there was I think it was a ballet that my parents had brought me to see. I'm from Levin, let's not talk about it, it makes me sad. And I looked at this stage as a 6-year-old and thought to myself, one day I want to be on the stage looking out. And this is not the first time that has happened, but every time it happens, it feels really special for me. So thank you for having me. I love this room. But I am very old now. I'm a nana now. Thank you, the rest of you. What heartless bastards. It's possible you don't understand what I mean when I say that I'm a nana, because sometimes people get, slightly confused about it. When I say I'm a nana, I don't mean by that I drive really long distances with my indicator on. When I'm not actually turning, I mean that my daughter has 2 beautiful children. We have Nukutawhiti and Ariana, and they're just amazing little people. I adore them. Where are the other grandparents in the room? Yes, it's good fun, isn't it? So much better than having children. Who's got children? Yuck! Oh, they're so needy and expensive. Now that I'm not a 24/7 parent, I realise what it is that makes parenting so tiring. It's that you have to know everything all the time, right? You have to have an answer to every question your child asks you, because if you can't answer their questions, you lose your authority. And they won't eat their broccoli. So I remember when Holly, my daughter, was about 3, she said, Mummy, why is the sky blue? And I said, well, sweetheart, light is made up of all the colours of the rainbow, from red right through the spectrum to blue. Now, the red light waves, darling, are short, so they pass through the gaseous particles in the atmosphere, but the blue light waves at the other end of the spectrum are long, so they bounce off the gaseous particles, darling, or refract and come back to Earth. So our eyes read the sky as blue when in fact it is all the colours. Eat your broccoli. Now, obviously, you've all had that same conversation with your children, so I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but then they start to get a little bit older and they start to ask you questions that you don't know the answer to, so you have to start, obviously, making shit up. So I remember when Holly was 11, she said, Mummy, how does the internet work? I said, well, sweetheart, when you ask the computer questions, the questions go through fibre optic cables into the sky, where the fairies catch them and feed those questions to unicorns, who eat the questions or digest them, and then they poo them out as answers. But, sweetheart, if you spend too much time on the computer, then the fairies feed the unicorns too many questions and it upsets their tummies and they fart, and that's what thunder is. Eat your broccoli. I don't have to know anything anymore. It's so great. I love it. I remember when Holly was first flatting, she came home and she was flatting with some boys, and she said, "Mummy, I've noticed a thing. I've observed something that men kind of they make skid marks." And I said, "Yes, sweetheart, that is true." And she said, "Well, Mummy, why is it that the world is still being run by the half of the human race that doesn't wipe its ass properly?" I said, "I don't know, darling. Nobody knows the answer to that. Just make Mummy a cocktail, we'll be fine." So it's fantastic. Speaking of people who can't wipe their ass properly, we have a new government. Now, I feel like they're not really for me because I'm not a landlord and I don't smoke. I'm not that interested in pseudoephedrine, so I just kind of feel like they're not for me. Do you know what I mean? For those of you, people in the room will probably know who our government here in New Zealand is. It's a coalition. It's a three-headed beast, if you will. For those who might not know about New Zealand politics, I can explain. We have three leaders. One of them is called, close your ears, Deborah, Christopher Luxon. He is a thumb. Or a roll-on deodorant. That's what he looks like. That's how he rolls. We don't really know what he stands for, do we? It's just all corporate speak. It's all KPIs and delivering the deliverables. We don't know what he stands for at all. But we do suspect that he's a fundy Christian, so there's that. That's about it. And then there's David Seymour. David Seymour, think Rimmer from Red Dwarf. Pee Wee Herman, but less sexy. One of those kids who was bullied and then becomes the ultimate bully at school. He's that guy, right? He's that guy. He sounds a little bit like this. Not really, but that's his vibe. And then we got Winston Peters. Now, Winston Peters keeps coming back year after year. He's been in politics for about 150 years. He's like 80. I'm exaggerating. He's 79 this year. He has embalmed himself in nicotine and whiskey. Wears a double-breasted suit and he's a little bit racist. He's like a drunk uncle. So that's Winston. He's the undead, right? So we've got a thumb, and we've got Pee Wee Herman and the undead. This is the worst game of fuck, marry, kill. So for fuck, I feel you'd go David Seymour. No, hear me out. Hear me out. It'd be quick. He's not been with a lot of people. It'd be like, oh, it's a lady. Ugh. Gone. Over. You'd have to marry Winston Peters. You can't kill him. He's the undead. Maybe you could do something clever with a wooden stake and a silver bullet, but he is the undead. You just can't. You can't get rid of him. You know that Christopher Luxon has been the whole of summer living in one of his 7 houses. Winston Peters just been hanging upside down in a cupboard. Unbelievable. So you could marry him. You wouldn't see a lot of him. He's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, right? He's overseas all the time. That's why he's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I do find it really weird. We've got a Minister of Foreign Affairs, a foreign minister who doesn't actually like foreigners. Weird. So you'd fuck David Seymour and then you would marry Winston Peters. So you've got to kill Christopher Luxon. I don't know how you do that because he's not really there. There's no substance to it. It'd be like stabbing jelly. It'd be like shooting fog. Poison. I'm saying poison. I don't know if this would work, but I tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to see if you could overdose him on the morning after pill. Just for the fucking poetry of it. But here's the thing. They all, get this, hate each other. When I'm having a bad day, I think, not too bad. At least I'm not trying to run a fucking country with 3 people who hate me. Yes, thank you very much. That's my time.
The incredible Michele Court, everybody! Now we have a very special treat for you, Wellington. We have never done this before anywhere in the world. We have a double act of performance poets for you. That's right. Our first poet is a writer, creative, and rongoa practitioner. Her poetry collection, Birdspeak, is just out from Anahera Press, and her short stories, essays, and poetry are published and anthologized widely. She's a mama of 3 children and daughter of a staunch feminist. Our second poet is a writer and poet based in Wellington with a Somali background. Her debut poetry collection, We're All Made of Lightning, won the Jessie Mackay Prize for Poetry at the 2023 Ockham New Zealand Book Awards. Please welcome to the stage Arihia Latham and Kadra Mohammed.
Tēnā tātou katoa, he mihi nui ki a koutou I tēnei pō. I te mea tuatahi ka pirangi o ki te mihi ki te maunga matairangi I noho ana tātou I te maru o te rā maunga tapu ki te awa o waitangi e rere nei ki te tahu o tātou. Ki tēnei whenua, ki te whenua o te aro pā. He mihi nui ki te mana whenua ki Taranaki whānui, ki te Aotearoa hoki, tēnei te mihi ki a tātou. Ki ngā tini mate, haere atu rā ki te poho hene nui te pō. Me ka hoki au ki te hunga ora, tēnā koutou katoa, kei te mihi aroha ki a koutou I tēnei pō. Ko Arihia Latham ahau, ko auhi uri o kaitahu, kati mamui waitaha. And I'm standing beside my amazing friend and poet.
Kia ora, I'm Kadra.
Awesome, let's have a seat. I love that we got to come off the back of that great set. Because, tonight I don't want to shy away from anything. We're reading poetry, which coming straight after comedy can be, it's a hard act to follow, right? So I thought we'd just roll on. I wanted to stand and speak a little bit about the C word. Not that one. No, the dirty one. I wanted to stand strong in our country. I wanted to stand on our country and fight against the very present and ongoing C word that is colonisation. That's right. That C word, that's the one I'm talking about. So, this government that we've just been hearing about, they've got some really dodgy, archaic, patriarchal principles, and they are racist. And in reality, I know what Michele was saying about, fuck, marry, kill, but I don't know if they could get a boner between them. It's just my take on it. Really, we've got this sausage fest, and it's not like a fancy, spicy sausage fest, though. It's more like those kind of pack and save sausages, where you get a bonus one. Actually, that's kind of what happened. You got a bonus minister, didn't we? But it's 2 could be helpful. What are we going to do with 3? It's just really unhelpful. So I wanted to start this session of talking about our relationship with this government, because actually the decisions that they're making for us right now are really unsafe. They're unsafe for tangata Māori, they're unsafe for our queer and trans whānau, they're unsafe for our refugee whānau, they're unsafe for our whānau that we're wanting to keep safe around the world. And so I wanted to start by reading a poem that really speaks to David Seymour, who I'd like to say less about trans people and about what women think about our own bathrooms, because I'm really, really happy to share. So I wrote this poem for my nephew. Tui means to bind us together against TERFs, bigots, and all gender discrimination. Tui means to bind us together. Can we knot ourselves into this moment? I see you exactly as you ask me to. If you want to, unfold your wings. Tui means to bind like feathers do in flight, here in the slipstream. I'm ready. It will beat my wings. I will beat my wings if flying could be safer. I reached you when you were drowning once. It didn't feel like we had won, more like we'd been tested in how hard we would fight. Tui means to bind, as if our threads of existence together were mapped out in te pō. Can we listen to the sounds here now in the sky? Tui means to bind. Binding breasts is painful. I only see this version of you. If you want to, unfold your wings. As feathers move in flight, there is resonance. The oro of life moves with our pulse as it rockets in every artery, as old as time and as new as each molecule of oxygen we transport. There is no pronoun to describe that. There are a million ways to describe that. Tui means to bind. Ka tui a tātou ki a tātou rongo. Bind to what we feel. All pronouns exist here. Murmuration is the sound of 1,000 feathers, silken and shimmering, adorning every bird to look like a rangatira. Tui means to bind us together. As these feathers gleam, it is all of our belonging. Their ruffle lifting us all to flight. Every feathered chest is perfect. Plucking and new growth aren't mutually exclusive. Can we make an arrowed feather to spear through the fog of limited minds, creating a slipstream? The ha of hokioi breathing from the clouds, dismantling the old, breathing out the rage and displacement, drowning out the creatures that think there is only one waiata and one way to sing it. Tui means to bind us together, not us into a korowai to hold those in transformation, listening to the oro within, knot us together with careful spacing so each feather can sit in the mana of its own story and sing the waiata of their being.
Kia ora. I'm not nervous. You're nervous. I wanted to first, before we start our poetry, I made a joke to Arihia that we were probably going to be tonight's buzzkill. Because, nothing's that funny about colonisation. And speaking of colonisation, I wanted to first acknowledge that today marks the 76th anniversary of the Nakba, the catastrophe, and the displacement of the Palestinian people. And as a Muslim woman, Palestine is particularly important to me. But with that said, Assalamu alaikum, kia ora. My name is Kadra, and tonight I'm going to share some poetry with you. They're not funny poems, but one of them might be. So the first poem I'm going to read tonight is a poem about my faith. I'm wearing a hijab right now, so it's something that I can't seem to escape. But with Palestine, I have become, I think, much more proud of being Muslim. So this piece is called Duksi Madrasa, or in English, Sunday Classes. Lesson 1. Did you know that the Hijri calendar is 10 days shorter than the Gregorian calendar? That means one day Ramadan will be birthed from the crescent moon of the spring month instead of the winter. One day we can start our holy month by watching the kowhai trees bloom instead of die. Lesson 2. In parts of East Africa, children learn the Arabic alphabet from a really young age. It's often written on a piece of flat wooden slab. Each letter is written in fine ink. Sometimes a teacher takes his time. The letters are finely spaced and neatly written, and other times he rushes. The letters, they trip over each other, smudged, torn apart, from the very first alif to the final ya. Lesson 3. My mother guts a pomegranate fruit one summer, out in the sun on the stone mosaic outside my grandma's garden. The juice is red, so red it stains the skin of her palms. And the fruit, it's really sweet. It sits on my tongue for days. The next morning, Sister Miriam tells me that pomegranates are one of the fruits gifted to us in heaven. Lesson 4. My brother once told me that the more rain that falls from the sky, the wider the gates of heaven are open. One summer night, a tropical storm rages. But when I wake up, the storm is gone. Puddles remain in the concrete, tree branches scatter the roads, but the sky, it remains a soft blue. And I can't tell you why that makes me so sad. Lesson 5. Some important words to remember. In Arabic, haram means forbidden, but haram means Mecca, a holier city. In Somali, hoyo means mother, and hoi means home, but hoya ma'an means both sweet mother and sweet home.
I always love listening to Katara read her poetry because it paints pictures in the sky. I'm going to now read a poem that I wrote in response to a poem by Natalie Handel, who's a Palestinian poet from Bethlehem. And I'm just going to read a small excerpt of hers before I read my own. Gaza, once in a tiny strip, dark holes swallowed hearts, and one child told another, withdraw your breath whenever the night wind is no longer a land of dreams. This poem is called Bomb. Bomb like you're the bomb. Bomb like, want to do a bomb off the bridge bomb? Bomb like I didn't do great in my performance. Bomb. Bomb like the baseline bomb. Not bombs like this. Not bombs that leave babies pulsing in the fading warmth of their mothers. Not bombs that are making children ancestors. Not bombs that steal hope and unstitch futures from the fabric of the earth. Not bombs taking everyday dreams and suspending them forever in the stars.
That's one of my favourite poems by you. This poem is called The 20 Daughters of the East, and it's kind of a representation of all the women in my life. So yeah, I hope you like it. The 20 Daughters of the East. The first daughter was only 6 when she realised she held the entire universe in the palm of her hand. The Milky Way snaking around her wrist, stars sat in the centre, a million moons dangled off each of her fingers. The second daughter is dead before the morning light turns her yellow. She joins the earth a day later. Her ghost travels through me. The third has a name that sounds a bit like an earthquake. There is a rumble when she breathes, so she has to avoid it altogether. The fourth trails the edges of the Nile, looking for the remains of Cleopatra. The fifth has skin like honey, covered in a layer of fire. The sixth is threaded in our blood. Her lineage is ours to share. The seventh was born in a field, skin smelling like lavender. The eighth is our mother. The ninth appears in all of our nightmares. The 10th is in an eternal spring. The 11th is just a concept that hangs from the trees. The 12th is having dinner with her children. The 13th, sitting alone at a restaurant. The 14th is having her first kiss. The 15th is running through a blooming Sahara. The 16th is nowhere to be found. The 17th is carrying the sun in her pockets. The 18th is questioning her ancestors. The 19th is learning Arabic. and the 20th just wants to forget it all.
Give it up for Arihia Latham and Khadra Mohammed. Can I just ask you, where can we buy Bird Speak, and where can we get We're All Made of Lightning?
Well, you can get them from any good indie bookstore. So we love to support Unity Books in Wellington here.
Excellent.
And you can also get them online as well from our publishers. And we've both got Instagram handles where you can find some details if you like.
Great. So find them on Instagram. There'll also be all the details in the show notes. Pick up their books. That book would make a beautiful present for somebody for their birthday. So probably get a couple in the drawer just in case you're going out to a birthday party and you think, oh, I know what, I'll take them. Everybody would love it. I'm just trying to promote poets' work because I've heard it's not as easy to make living as a poet as a pilot. So, is that true?
Look, I think if you were a pilot and a poet, that would be a winning combination.
Laura, get on that. Thank you so much for coming. That was absolutely beautiful. Please give it up for Khadra Mohammed and Arihia Latham. All right. I'm so excited to tell you that it's almost the interval. But before the interval, I'm very, very excited to present someone with whom I dare not come to Australian and Aotearoa anymore because she is such a key part of The Guilty Feminist. She is all the way from, we call her the Leicester legend. She's all the way from the UK. Put your hands together and make incredible woohooing noises for the wonderful Grace Petrie!
Hello, it's lovely to be back. That was such wonderful poetry, but I loved it when Khadra said we're going to be the buzzkill, because I thought, oh, you ain't seen a folk singer, mate. Challenge accepted. This is a song that I wrote about the King of England. I know. It is worse, isn't it, than having a queen for some reason. I don't know why. I know she wasn't exactly a bastion of feminism, but it was more sort of vague girl boss vibes, wasn't it, I think? Anyway, this is called King and Country, goes this. You are listening to Today on Radio 4. This is the Third World War. The scientists are sounding the alarm. Everyone stay calm. Another boat of refugees went down. Let's talk about pronouns. Have you considered sleeping in your coats? At least we stopped the boats. No IDs means no votes, but thank God we stopped the boats. But none of your flag waving and God fearing is gonna help us out the state that we're in. And from the barricades I hear them cheering, hear them sing, you ain't my king. This ain't my country, ain't my king. Ain't my country now. You are watching breakfast on BBC One. Keep calm and carry on. A carpet of dead shellfish washed ashore. Bad luck and nothing more. Another boat of refugees went down. Let's talk about pronouns. Have you considered sleeping in your coats? At least we stopped the boats. No IDs means no votes, but thank God we stopped the boats. Well, none of your flag waving and God fearing is gonna help us out the state that we're in. And from the barricades I hear them cheering, hear them sing, you ain't my king.
This ain't my country, ain't my king, it ain't my country now.
Thank you. We'll see you after the break.
So that was the first half. Join us for part 2, which should be in your feed right now.